To be completely honest, this movie's a lot better than most people say. Hey guys, how you doing today? It's David Lucas back here again. Welcome back to my channel. Now today I'm coming back at you guys again for another review into the series of reviews that we're doing so far. Of course, you guys have been following along, then you know that the series of reviews that we're doing right now is the lead up to the new Batman film. I'm talking about that movie right now. We have still 1 month to go now until that movie comes out. Then we can talk about that. Says there's only 1 month to go. That means we got to start cracking down on the Batman reviews, guys. And right now we are at the third movie in the kind of Tim Burton universe. This is supposed to be part of the Tim Burton universe, but it doesn't really feel like part of the Tim Burton universe, but we'll count it as part of the Tim Burton universe. And that movie is the very kind of divisive and almost kind of forgotten, if you think about it, Batman movies, and that is Batman Forever. Hey guys, Batman Forever, directed by this time around Joel Schumacher, and also starring this time around Val Kilmer as Batman and Bruce Wayne. Not Tim Burton directing, and not Michael Keaton starring as Batman and Bruce Wayne. They switch it up this time around. You know, still technically in the same continuity. You know, they had the same Alfred, they had the same Gordon, they have the kind of like the same Batcave in a way type of thing. It is still part of the same continuity, but it's very different. Basically, how the story goes, after Batman Returns happened, Warner Brothers got a lot of, bad, reception from, parents and people during, all around saying that Batman Returns was way too dark and way too gothic and not Batman at all, pretty much. So Warner Brothers at the time got very reactionary and then wanted Tim Burton to do a more kind of, family-friendly type of Adam West style type of Batman movie going forward with the series. And of course, Tim Burton didn't want to do that because that's not Tim Burton's style. And then Michael Keaton fouled Tim Burton because he said he wasn't going to do the movie if it wasn't for Tim Burton doing it. So Warner Bros. Went and got Joel Schumacher to replace him, and then Joel Schumacher went and got Val Kilmer to replace Michael Keaton as Batman. And now we have Batman Forever, guys. Now, before we get into the review, guys, I kind of want to show something off that I got the other day, and it's very related to this character, to this universe that we're talking about right now. So I really wanted to show him off in this video real quick. Crap. Now, I know I'm not a toy review channel, guys, but I just gotta show this off. Look at that. Look at that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I had to get it. I had to get the Robert Pattinson Batman action figure. Look at that costume. Look at, just, come on. The cape. I had to. Now with that all done out of the way, guys, let's get into our review. And if, of course, you guys know how the reviews go on this channel, I usually start with the good, and then I go on to the bad. So, of course, guys, let's start with the good in this movie. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I really do find this movie to be really underrated. I think this is a really underrated movie that kind of gets forgotten a lot and kind of gets, thrown off to the side, I feel like. It always gets forgotten within the Tim Burton Batman movies and within all just the Batman movies in general. I feel like people always forget to mention this one. They always mention Batman or Robin, I feel like, even before this. Even not in the best of sense, but they always feel like going to Batman and Robin before this one. I just feel like this movie gets, very underlooked, Batman Forever. And one of the things that I find that gets very overlooked in this movie is definitely Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I actually am a big fan of Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I think as Bruce Wayne, he has the looks of a Bruce Wayne, of what you would expect from a Bruce Wayne. He has a kind of charisma and kind of just the way how he moves around and suave about himself. He gives off a very, a handsome billionaire Bruce Wayne type of look. And I do like it. He looks like Bruce Wayne, maybe 35 in his 30s, just now starting to get more into Wayne Corp. And that's something, too, that I like about this movie, that it does show Bruce Wayne more active in Wayne Enterprises, more than what we've seen in the other than Tim Burton Batman movies. We actually see him more involved in this one, which I do like. And also, too, his Batman gets very underlooked. I think he has a very good Batman voice. I do. really like his Batman voice a lot, actually. I think he does a good job with it. He looks good in the suit, I feel like. When you look at him suit and you look like okay, that looks like Batman. I can see that as a Batman. I like it. And just his overall fighting style in here, I do like him. I like him as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I think his Bruce Wayne and Batman does get very overlooked and very underlooked, too, of just all the rest of the Batmans, I feel like. And I gotta say, that I think he is a good Bruce Wayne and Batman, which is different from Michael Keaton, which Michael Keaton I thought was a great Batman, but not a really good Bruce Wayne. Val Kilmer, I actually like him as Bruce Wayne and Batman. He isn't the best. Like, there could be definitely a better Bruce Wayne and Batman, like Ben Affleck. But he is good. Like, I do believe it. You know, again, it's not my favorite, but I do believe him as Bruce Wayne and Batman. Actually, kind of like the fighting sequence in this one. I think Joel Schumacher really does capture the action scenes pretty good. I've watched some of the action scenes, seen him, beat up some of Two-Face's goons and henchmen, and then some of the Riddler and stuff like that. Like, he does have good fight scenes in here that I'm like, okay, that looks cool. That looks pretty good. I see it. It's not too close up. It's not too blurry. It's not too cut away too much. You see them fighting. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. I like the fighting. I really like, too, the whole look of Gotham in here. I like the neon type of look in Gotham in here. I really like it a lot. And even though it does look, again, different than Joel Schumacher's, you can kind of look at it as, like, this is Gotham cleaning itself up. This is what Gotham's looked like after a couple years that Batman's been, around and all this stuff. And now Gotham's becoming some more like a neon type of Blade Runner almost type of world, it seems like. And I do like that. It gives it a different kind of aesthetic and kind of look to it, which I do appreciate and do like. That is something that's very different, and you can tell does come from the mind of Joel Schumacher. It's very much from his mind, but at the same time does have a lot of Gotham-like looks to it, and I do appreciate for that it doesn't look like some average city in, the world. It looks like Gotham City if you would think of Gotham City. I like how there's a little bit of hints in this movie too, and within the story of it, of the dual personality between Bruce Wayne and Batman, that he does kind of conflict and deal with him seeing, like, who am I? Am I really Batman? Am I Bruce Wayne? And you have that a little bit in here, and it does feel like that's what Joel Schumacher wanted to focus on, and maybe the studio came in and kind of cut a lot of that stuff out, but there is some of that stuff in here that I really like and really appreciate that Joel Schumacher was able to put in. And now, I know this is the very start of the bat nipples. This is when the bat nipples started, which I can't stand. I don't like the bat nipples, but that being said, without the bat nipples on this costume, if you take the bat nipples off of this costume, it actually looks like a pretty cool Batman costume in general. Like, I actually kind of like it. It looks like a Michael Keaton's Batsuit, but a little bit more modern, a little bit more rubbery. I kind of like it. A little more sleeker. I like it. Just take out the bat nipples, and the costume design here would be pretty cool. And I like the bat symbol, too. I like the bat symbol design they got in here. It's very kind of comic accurate. I really do. I think they did a good job on the comic design, and the whole design of it, except for the nipple. Batmobile in this one, too, is actually pretty cool. I don't get why some people don't like the Batmobile. I get it that it does look a little bit, kind of out there, and it doesn't look very, hidden, and it's very noticeable out on the streets. I get it, but it looks pretty cool. And growing up, watching this movie growing up, it looked pretty cool to me growing up, and that's something I gotta say, that I do have a lot of nostalgia for this movie, but again, I try to block out the nostalgias, but still, it does look cool to me. I do like the look of the Batmobile. It looks pretty cool, and they do go a little bit more over the top in Batman and Robin, which we'll talk about later, but I do appreciate the Batmobile in this. Now, I know he does get a lot of crap in this movie. I get it. He gets a lot of crap. But I'm actually a fan of Jim Carrey's Riddler. I actually do, because in the comic books, the Riddler was kind of, he did have a lot of different kind of aspects. He did have a lot of different interpretations. There were certain interpretations where he was goofy and zany and all over the place, like Jim Carrey's, and there's other interpretations where he's very cool and methodical and very like a mad genius who is very intellectual and very just like a Zodiac killer type of stuff, like a very frightening type of character, which we'll probably be getting with the Paul Dano's Riddler. So there's different aspects of him, and in this one with Jim Carrey's, we got the more zany, comic booky, all over the place, crazy Riddler, which I'm fine with. And that being said, there are scenes in here where Jim Carrey is actually pretty threatening. there are scenes in here where you're like, okay, this guy is pretty evil. Like the scene right after when he sucked up his boss's, IQ and brainwaves or whatever, when he kills his boss, Stickley, in here. That scene in general, Jim Carrey is frightening. He looks like a psychopath in his eyes. He looks like a crazy person who's just snapped and just like, okay, you know what? Fuck all you guys. I'm gonna kill you. And then I'm gonna go after Bruce Wayne. Screw you guys. He goes insane, and you're like, okay, I believe it. This guy just went totally insane. And that fits the Riddler, because the Riddler is an insane psychopath. So it's kind of like, okay, I like the kind of craziness that Jim Carrey does give to this character, even though he's a very over-the-top, zany character. Jim Carrey does manage to find a way to make some seriness and make some kind of scariness to this character, even with all that stuff in there. And I really appreciate what Jim Carrey did with it. And I just love seeing Jim Carrey as the Riddler, even as a kid and up to now. Like, I just enjoy it. I enjoy his Riddler. Well, I actually am a fan of Chris O'Donnell's Robin, in this one at least. In this one, Batman Forever, I like what they did. I like how they made Robin a little bit older, even though it's kind of weird, and we'll get onto that here, how they don't treat him as being an older person. We'll get onto that. But I just like overall Chris O'Donnell's performance. I like how they show his introduction with the Flying Graysons, and the Flying Graysons dying, and then him kind of going under Bruce's wing and training as Robin, and then wanting revenge at first, and Bruce kind of telling him, is like, you know what's going to happen. And I like how they cut that consistency, because if this is, found in Tim Burton's Batman movies, he's killed. He's killed a lot of people. He killed Jack Napier, the guy who killed his parents. He literally killed him. So he has that experience, and I like how he's kind of telling Robin, like, I know what that takes. I know what happens. Don't go down that path. Don't go down the path of murdering the person for revenge, because then you're just going to be stuck forever. So I kind of like that, how they had that kind of carryover onto. And two, I just like Robin's suit here. I think Robin's suit is done in a 90s Schumacher type of movie, Joel Schumacher type movie. It fits the tone, it fits the look, and it's still, when I look at that, I think of Robin. It has a Robin type of look to it, and I appreciate the suit. I actually think the final fight and final act in this whole thing is done pretty well, too. Like, I think it's done pretty well. I like the final act. I like the final fight. I like the whole kind of Riddler's Island type of thing. And then how he's playing the game with Batman. Like, riddle me this. And if you guess the riddle right, then you can only save one and all that stuff. And then I liked all that. And the way how Two-Face died with all the coins falling down and Two-Face trying to grab all the coins. It's a very much of an animated series type of moment, which happened in the animated series where Two-Face got confused with the coins and ended up getting arrested and going crazy. It's a very reminiscent scene of that. So I do like the final fight, and even the sonar suit. I like the Batman sonar suit. I think it looks cool, even though it has literally no purpose at all in this thing. I think it looks cool. Now, that's pretty much it for all the good stuff, guys. If you can see, I probably have a lot more good things to say about this movie than most people, I feel like, but I'm a big fan of Batman Forever. Now, that being said, I have pretty much just as much of negatives I have to go through this movie, so let's get on to the negatives. Now, right off the bat, the opening in this movie is just really horrible. Like, it's just so bad. I have no idea what Joel Schumacher was thinking about when it was opening. Like, the opening literally feels like an opening for a McDonald's commercial. It actually is an opening for a McDonald's commercial. Literally, it is. Go look it up. It is an opening for a McDonald's commercial. How he comes up there, and then Batman and Alfred asks, like, can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir? And Batman goes, I'll take drive-thru. And then drives off. That literally was part of a commercial, a McDonald's commercial, where Batman went and actually went through the fucking drive-thru and picked up McDonald's before he left. And they just kept that scene in there as the fucking first lines and openings of this movie. Okay, why? And something else too, speaking of the opening, I really am not a fan of the whole, name zooming across and all that openings that Joel Schumacher did in his two movies, and this one and Batman and Robin. I'm just not a fan of that whole thing. It's just really weird. I don't really get the point of it. Dr. Chase Meridian, she's in here too. She's literally just, she's just supposed to be just a sex object for Batman here. That's literally all she is. And I hate to say it, but they do literally nothing with her except for being horny for Batman. That's all she is in this whole movie, being horny for Batman and being confused if she likes Batman or Bruce Wayne better. That's her whole part in this movie. And I love Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman is awesome. She's great. But literally her whole role in this is just degraded to that, and she has nothing to do but all that. And it really sucks, because, like, oh, you guys could have done something cool with this character, being a psychiatrist and being, you know, in a relationship with Batman / Bruce Wayne. You could have really done something cool with all that concept, but they really didn't. And, of course, in the next movie, you don't see her again. I was a fan of Jim Carrey's Riddler. But now let's talk about Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, as Harvey Dent's Two-Face. Now, if you guys remember, back in the Tim Burton movies, in the Batman 1989, you had Billy D. Williams playing Harvey Dent in there, and they were kind of teasing and kind of showing that, yeah, Two-Face is going to come later on, guys. We're going to build it up and have Two-Face come in later on. And originally, he was supposed to be in Tim Burton's original Batman Forever script, which got scrapped and all that stuff. And of course, when that happened, Billy D. Williams didn't want to come back because of the same reason Michael Keaton didn't want to come back. So they had to go and find a new Two-Face. And of course, they found Tommy Lee Jones, who is a great actor in himself. And when you think of, oh, Tommy Lee Jones cast as Harvey Dent, Two-Face, okay, cool casting. That's actually a pretty good casting on paper. But then once you see the performance, and then you see what they do with the character in this, it's like, oh my God, what in the world are you guys thinking? Half of the movie, he's just running around going like, that's literally half of him throughout the whole movie. He's doing that. And then when the Riddler comes in, he's even more crazy and more over the top. It's just like, whoa. Dude, actually going funny when you watch like the behind the scenes interviews of Tommy Lee Jones talking to Jim Carrey's The Riddler. He hated Jim Carrey. Like, apparently he said something over the lines of, like, I cannot sanction your buffoonery or something like that. He just, and maybe that's why the performance was so bad on the screen when we watch it go on screen. But Jesus Christ, guys, I don't know what they were thinking of him. It sucks because the look of Two-Face is actually kind of cool. I kind of like the look of him with the face, how they have the purple face, and there's the whole, his suit designs, how his suits are different, you know, like half is different. I liked all that. That stuff was cool. But just what they did with Two-Face in here was just, what were you guys thinking? Sucked as it's being played by a really good actor who could have done a good Two-Face and Harvey Dent by Tommy Lee Jones, and it was bad. Now again, the one constant problem throughout this whole movie that I have is Gordon. Gordon in this movie has less to do than what he did in Tim Burton ones. I would take the Gordon in the Tim Burton Batman movies way over than his, even though it's the same Gordon, it's the same exact actor and all that stuff. I would take that actor in that role and in this universe over this universe because, whoa, he just has nothing to do. Batman, Gordon's just there. He literally shows up for like 1 or 2 scenes. And in one of the scenes he shows up, he's in his fucking underwear and robe and is running around going, oh, what's going on? Then on top of that, the one other scene he's in there in, him and that while the Riddler is doing all this stuff, he doesn't send his police out to get the Riddler. He just waits for the Batman to shows up. And when the Batman shows up, he's all like, yeah, you saved us. Instead of sending out his own men to try to save the day. Like, this is not Gordon at all. He's never has been Gordon, and he's even more not like Gordon in this. Now, there are certain weird stuff in this movie where it does get really serious, and it does get a little bit deep, like I was saying. I like the deep storyline of the dual personality that they're trying to put on in this movie of Bruce Wayne and Batman. But you can tell maybe it was the studio that just put in so much, like, just corny stuff that it made them put in all these, like, Adam West callback type of stuff that really just didn't fit the overall story of what they're saying and overall tone, because there are times where the tone is very goofy, very comical, and then at the same time it's trying to be dark and serious. And then there's just at times where it's just like, what tone are you trying to get in this movie? Another thing too that I gotta talk about in this movie that doesn't really make any sense is that I like the fact that they again make Dick Grayson older in this movie, but yet as they make him older, for some reason, they still find the need to make Bruce Wayne adopt him? Why? Why does Bruce Wayne need to adopt this, like, 21, 22-year-old looking dude? Like, what? It doesn't make sense in that. Like, it would make more sense that they would have done something where it's like, you know, Grayson maybe came to Bruce because he's seen him, you know, there at the fair or whatever, and at the circus, and then he just went there and talked to Bruce and kind of got to know Bruce like in that way, rather than Gordon going in and having Bruce adopt him for some reason, which it just doesn't make sense. Like, I don't get why they did that. It doesn't make any sense. This dude is supposed to be a grown-ass adult, but yet Bruce Wayne is adopting him? Why? Like, why does that? I don't get that. Now, something that I have to kind of give them credit for, but at the same time, criticize for, is that they did try to put the detective side in Batman on this one. They did try to put the detective spin, but they just fail at every time they try to do it. Every time, like, Batman's trying to figure out a Riddler's riddle, or him and Alfred are trying to figure out the riddle and trying to figure out who Riddler's identity is. It's just done very bad and done very cheap and very fast, even too. Where it's just like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, but you just don't do it. And they just have that in here where it does really kind of, it does boggle it down for me. So guys, that's pretty much it on my good and in my bad on Batman Forever, guys. So my overall thoughts on Batman Forever is that Batman Forever is still a very underrated Batman movie, in my opinion, that has a lot more going for it than a lot of people say. It has a little bit of a deepness and a deep storyline going to it. Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne and Batman is very underrated, in my opinion. I think he's a good Bruce Wayne and Batman. I do like the overall design of Gotham that they put in here. I think the overall design of Gotham is done really good. But this movie does kind of differ in kind of the commercialiness that it has in here, and kind of the corniness and campiness that it has throughout the movie, where it doesn't fit the tone of the rest of the movie. It has some really bad villains in Tommy Lee Jones as Harvey Dent and Two-Face. It's really bad. One of the worst villains probably in cinematic history, in comic book cinematic history. But it also has a really good villain in Jim Carrey's Riddler, where it kind of does even it out on. This movie is a very split-in-the-middle movie, in my opinion, where I do find a lot of good to it, and I do find a lot of bad at the same time to it. But at the end of the day, it's a movie that I grew up on watching as a kid all the time. So I'm always fine watching it, and I always get myself getting through it and find myself enjoying this movie for what it is. Even though I do know it does have a lot of bad to it, I do kind of enjoy the movie for what it is, because it does have some goodness to it, to where I'm like, okay, this makes it doable. Well, my overall scoring for Batman Forever, guys, is a solid 6 out of 10. Yes, guys, a 6 out of 10 for Batman Forever, guys. It's just a little bit over the halfway mark of me liking it and not liking it. Like I said, it's a very underrated Batman movie, in my opinion. So, guys, let me know down in the comment section below, and let me know your thoughts on Batman Forever, guys. Do you like it? Do you don't like it? Are you like me, that's right in the middle of it? Let me know down in the comment section below, and let me know your thoughts on the most underrated Batman movie, in my opinion. And as always, guys, if you like this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel, because that really helps out a lot when you like this video and subscribe, because it really does help with the algorithms, all that. So please, I really appreciate if you guys do that. If you have already subscribed to this channel and been subscribed to this channel for this time, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate your support all the time. And of course, guys, until next time.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?